Good afternoon, all. I was going to do a reading on Louis Sarno, and I watched a documentary the other night called Song of the Forest, and this was about his life and how he brought this music from this tribe, or it sounds like the pygmy people in Africa. He lived there for many years, and he was very immersed in the culture, and he brought back this amazing music that one can feel they're just right in the heart of it. And when listening to it, you can really feel that. It's very primitive, it's very raw. It is spontaneous, so nothing is orchestrated or feeling cleaned up in it. And at least for me, when I listen to it, you can just feel that, like you're just right there in it. It really strikes one's heart chords that way. And so Louis has passed on. I was just going to do a reading on him and get a feeling of it. Who knows what might flow from it of interest now. Any messages or what have you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with Louis's reading. Okay, so it is showing that he has passed. Okay, so I am hearing, in some respect, poor guy, he had a hard time. Okay, so this is what's coming out at first. You just never know what might come forward in a reading. He really struggled in many ways in his life, okay, with financial issues, with feeling torn between where he grew up and where he chose to live. But with Louis, what it feels like is whatever benefits came from it outweighed the burden. Let's see if this is right for Louis. You could see yes. So with him, it was like he was drawn here, and now it's getting heavy again. So let's see what happens. He was drawn there in like with this intuition to come to a land in which there was this connection there to the earth, to the forest dwellers, and find his way, his truth, his path that did center. I am seeing musical notes around music. Okay, so he had that place in him that was open to that, and it was there in this open space, and it just sort of pulled him along there. At least he felt that within his being, like a calling, truly. Okay, so he found the place in the forest one that gave him something that he felt was missing in terms of his creativity. Okay, so he just wanted to find a way to bring the living force of primal ancient way to come to life through orchestra is the feeling, orchestra or harmonious notes. Okay, he wanted that to come forward to bring life to it without anything covering it over, which he has certainly done. Okay, so I am feeling like his death was hard in a way. It could be that his health was ailing, and so things were hard. And when I do say the death too, it feels as if it's more the death of this land or this sacred space in which more the original feeling of it began to degrade. This was very hard for Louis to see these changes, as all things change. But what was happening was, more poachers coming in, more of an outside influential forces that came him to filter into this forest where he felt just the sunlight should filter in, just the voice of the primitive people with their spontaneous drumming, chanting, song, celebration that was natural to them, that flowed from them like just like a river would, flow from when there is this way, this movement there, it would flow naturally that way. That's what happened with the people where he lived here. And so he bloomed there in many ways, in his heart, in his spirit, and yet it also caused heartache for him to see these changes, and that he was a bit torn between two worlds. Okay, Louis, free man. Free man in his heart, in a way, when he came here, he felt. Okay, so the love was there, and as well as his, he fit in, he fit in, and not all do. He never felt like an outsider, like he was someone that was pushed aside or not welcomed. Okay, so he never felt that way. He felt always taken in kindness, I guess, in a way. This is how he felt being here. Okay, so he's hoping or hearing still this voice of the this calling in his heart. He's still hearing it in his and I do see musical notes, he's still feeling that flavor of the orchestra, of the music that flowed here from the earth song, really, or the, I guess this is called forest song, earth song. He still feels it, captivated by it in his spirit, okay, even after death. He's captivated by it in a way that he feels like it is just like part of his blood and his bones and his breath. He can't get away from it. And this is ending up being quite a good thing for Louis. Okay, so it is carrying him forward on to new horizons in which this freeing up or giving life to this music can be reborn in a way, be reborn to come forward. I do see something sort of coming up from the earth, like coming up and rising again for those around to feel, to bask in. Okay, and also he has left this music here for others to bask in. All right, so, some around him were and not understanding exactly why he would take to this life. However, many were like appreciative, or I guess wanting to see that, how he found a life that he wanted, to live, and sort of left all those ways that people have, those more traditional ways behind that people get themselves so caught up in. With him, he wanted to be free of those. I mean, it wasn't like it was a conscious choice, really. Overall, with him, it feels like he just was drawn, it was in him to do this. So he really wanted to bring it out. So let's see if any messages come that would be helpful for humanity as far as the earth goes and things. Okay, so what is said here then is, do not take for granted these lands so rich, so lush, so glorious that one sees, one feels. They need to be taken care of with your with full care and love, just like you would anything you really love and cherish, because for those that do experience, so many don't have that chance, but experience it, they know the difference of what Mother Nature gives abundantly without asking for anything in return. Really, it takes care of all of our needs, all of them. Not one thing does it not take care of. And the more that it can be allowed to flourish and to grow in one's heart, to see it as not being different from your own soul, then one can cherish it more. In case you don't have to go and live here to do this. Okay, so one is saying, this is saying, no, you need to find it where you live now, wherever you are, to see that all around you is because of Mother Nature that you take for granted. Okay, so begin to appreciate, begin to open up. Because for Louis, his heart does still ache in many ways for this land, this beauty, just in the same way that the indigenous ones here feel. Okay, it's the same thing to see something going downhill when it has all that's in it, all that's in us, to allow it to go, to bloom, to flourish, to give to all. Okay, this takes sacrifice on each and every one of us, to make a sacrifice, to make priorities, change them. Okay, they need to be switched, they need to be unlocked, they need to be nurtured, they need to be cared for every day, so one does not just do these unconscious acts that we're seeing now. Okay, so Louis was glad to be away from all of that. Okay, so he was, and yet he was, left him, since he had that other world, very much of a concern for both worlds, truly. It's heavy there. It's heavy there. Okay, so anything else that's important with Lewis's reading? Okay, so no, not really. Okay, so let's just feel this energy in us. Let's bask in it, and let's make our life one in which we connect with it. Okay, connect with it, even with the food we eat, whatever. Have gratefulness. Okay, thank you all for tuning in. Bye bye now.